It's pretty straightforward.
Budget Committee meeting, the Tiverton Budget Committee meeting of Thursday, December 14th, and we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And I would ask Deb to please take the roll.
Jen Ashley.
Present.
Jay Edwards.
Present.
Ruth.
Ruth Hollenbach, present.
Ruth Hollenbach. Brendan.
Here?
Cecil.
Here, yep.
Deb Janik here. Mike.
Here.
David.
Here.
And Jen.
Here.
Mr. Katz is absent.
And,
And Mr.
Mr.
Cody.
yep. So I wanted to, since we had 3 new members of the committee, I thought it would be worthwhile getting everybody together just to meet one another and also to lay out some preliminary stuff. And if I haven't already personally apologized to you, I'll do it again to have you come out in such a miserable night.
Oh.
I never envisioned that this early in December we would have the pleasure of sub-zero temperatures almost with the wind chill. But so be it. And what I want to do to get things started is just start with Jen and come around. Everybody can introduce themselves, reveal whatever you wish to reveal. Minimum of a first name would be good, but it's up to you. And with that,
Jennifer Jones Rashley. I've been on the committee just 1 year.
Justin Katz. Jay Edwards, second year.
Ruth Hollenbach, this is my second year, and I just want to do the best we can for everyone when we make our budget. That's my goal.
I am Brendan McNally, and this is my second year.
Cecil Leonard, this is my 4th year. And I want to work together cooperatively to put together the best budget that we can come up with in these, shall we say, trying times or challenging times. And hopefully if we all work from a cooperative standpoint, we can do that. I will say that I feel absolutely secure that as the new members will soon learn, and the current members already know, you cannot please everybody. No matter what you do, you're going to annoy somebody. So that's just part of the territory.
Deb Janik, this is my 4th year. I can't believe we're sitting here again. We're already starting a new season, so here we go.
I'm Mike Dakotas, brand new. I'm looking forward to working in harmony with everyone that's sitting here. Thank you.
David Paul, also freshman on the Budget Committee. I echo Mike's words there. Work together and put out the best budget we can for the town.
Jen Jocelyn, newbie as well. And again, same sentiment. Hopefully that we can all get together and put forward a good budget to present to the town.
Okay, very good. The next item is the introduction of the school superintendent and town administrator. The school superintendent let me know by email day before yesterday that he cannot be here tonight. So that leaves Paul, who wanted to take a moment to talk with people and introduce himself.
You all see me. Front and center.
Well, thank you for the moment to talk with you, and obviously you know that I'm not going to be here for the whole budget process, but I did want to assure you that the budget that I've been working on over the last fall is essentially done. The budget books, all the background material, we're still putting together, and that'll be done by the time I leave. But I'll be forwarding to the council, maybe tomorrow, it depends on a few outstanding numbers, or certainly next week, the budget spreadsheet. And if I may, I'd like to spend a little bit of time, just sort of the key findings of that, just so it's not a surprise to you when you get the thing officially on, I guess January 14th is the meeting for that. But it's not a pretty picture. And, I was looking at the town administrator's request recommendation that came in about a year ago, and it seems his request, or his recommendation to the council was about 7.5% growth over the previous budget. And obviously, you all in council winnowed that down to something much less than that by the time it got to the financial town referendum.
And just a point of information.
Sure.
Our body was largely divided, and so it wasn't all of us that voted for that budget, just as a
No, I make,
point of information.
Yeah, this is not a, this is the most, this is a policy thing,
Right, thank
not a
you.
political point I'm making here. However, what is a fact is that the budget that was ultimately passed has maybe 2% or something growth from last year, regardless of how it got there. So just some highlights of what I have found. So right now, I have no new recurring capital requests in the budget. However, I do have on the non-recurring, probably about 200% increase. And the reason for that is that I have moved paving and drainage accounts into capital, non-recurring capital. And so most of that increase in the capital, non-recurring capital is funding paving. So that's, you didn't fund it, or the budget wasn't funded last year for that. So any dollar would be an increase in that amount. Now, I'm also aware that I believe as of the end of this fiscal year, there's a provision that 25% of unused municipal funding will go into the paving and drainage accounts, but obviously we can't predict what that is. We're only about halfway through the year. So it could be 0, or it could be 25,000, we don't know what it is, but it'll probably never be as much as what Bill Anderson, the director, would want in his paving. There are several increases in what I would call structural increases that we have limited control over at this point. Their debt service is about a 10% increase. Insurance benefits, about 11% increase. Pension-related costs, excluding the police pension, which is a fixed amount that we choose, and we're not required to, we have a minimum that we are recommended to put in, but we don't have payments that we actually have to make like we do to the other state pensions. That's about a 44% increase. The figures we're getting from the state is for AFSCME contract doubles in percentage required, and firefighters goes up about 75% or so. Social Security is about an 8% increase, which is directly related to to personnel costs, which I'll explain in a second. And of course, we have a 38% increase in the trash collection because of the contract that was signed in July, I guess, end of June, July. So that's those categories I just mentioned to you. They represent 50% of the budget, the municipal budget. So all this is with the school put aside. That strongly, I mean, you move things 10, 15%, that strongly increases and affects the overall budget. Secondly, right now, barring any other changes I make over the next couple of days, personnel-related costs or salary-related costs, so salary, overtime, contractual required things that relate to salary, has about an 8% increase, which is what you'd expect to see because Social Security went up 8%. The only non-structural growth, part of that growth, is a request for a full-time planner at $75,000 salary. So that's a significant new item in the budget. These costs represent about 35% of the budget. So if you're keeping track, 85% of the budget is, on paper, is done. And this also assumes that since the police and the fire contracts are not done, negotiated, or ratified yet, this budget that I'm proposing has 0 increase for police, and there's a 2% increase for the fire that is effective as of June 30th, 2018, so the last day of this fiscal year. So they get a 2% increase by contract, and then it assumes nothing thereafter, no increases for fiscal 19. That obviously could change, we don't know. So that leaves sort of everything else is what I would call operational. Repairs for trucks, all the stuff that the police and fire and recreation and so forth do, that actually decreased 13%. And it's simply a factor of it's crowded out by all the other things that the 85% have done and the increase is there. And the only other increase that I'm proposing is about a 12% increase in legal fees, legal money for legal things. So on top of that, I'm going to recommend 3 what I would call structural changes to what I think will improve future operations. One will be designate non-recurring capital, the entire fund, as a restricted account. Move paving and drainage into that, and then set up a regime just like you did for paving and drainage, that a certain percentage, I'm suggesting 50, but in debate it might be something else, of unexpended municipal funds at the end of the year we put into this new capital account. It's a restricted account, and anything in it rolls over to the next year. So it's the same thing that you did for capital, for paving, and to some extent I think you did it for capital to a small amount, but formalizing that. Secondly, consolidate the planning and the building departments into one department. There will be, as most of you know, we have a posting out for a land use clerk that will serve both those departments. We have a posting out for what we're calling a land use administrator, which will help with the administrative officer role for the planning board and zoning. We'll get a small amount of savings from just combining the offices so you don't have 2 sets of supply costs and so on and so forth. But the real cost will just come in efficiency. Having 2 clerks that are supporting 2 departments as opposed to 1 each, the coverage would just be much better. We know that we can keep the building office open if we get 2 clerks as opposed to 1, and so forth. And finally, one that might be maybe need some research to do, at the request of the senior center director, is she has an account for supplies, activities, and instruction. What we're going to do, or what I'm proposing to do, is keep the supplies. Obviously, she needs to buy supplies, but break out the activities, instruction, and create a restricted fund that is paid for by the fees that the seniors pay for the various activities they want. Because what basically happens is they get an instructor to do a particular type of class. They find out who's interested. They pay fees. That pays the instructors. But it goes into the general fund, and then you're funding every year, or the budget is funding a line item for this. If we eliminate the line item, effectively make it a restricted account, and it can become self-sufficient. It'll grow if there's a demand for it to grow. If there is no great growth, it'll just stay where it is, and it'll be basically a pass-through for fees that the instructor charges for the seniors, and the program won't be as tied to the budget cycle, and it can maybe be more responsive to the needs of the senior center. So that's kind of just a quick overview of where we stand, without getting into the nitty-gritty of the numbers, which you guys will do here in several weeks.
Yeah. Now, the council has not seen their proposals yet.
We'll see it within days.
Okay. Anybody have any questions?
You have a an overall spending increase on that proposal?
Anywhere between 7% and 8%.
And do you know how that works out for taxation?
No, at this point. I asked the assessor to, and I presume he has it, but we built a model, actually, if you may have seen it. We built a model for assessing what would happen to the casino revenue. Just wanted to see on the current budget, what would happen if you just put $3 million into the levy, or took it out, or added to state aid or something, what that would do to the tax rate. What it does is it lowers it about 10%. But I asked him to take that model and apply it to, or to have it available to do various scenarios with this. So that should be available to you and the council as you walk through this. You come to a certain budget. Assume, by the way, the budget, I'm assuming 2% growth for the school. I've had one or two conversations with the superintendent, I'm not speaking for him, but just so that I could have a spreadsheet that added up to the total town budget. I just inflated his last numbers 2%, just to get somewhere.
So the 10%, I saw the model, but I don't recall, is that with the delayed beginning, or assuming a full year of revenue?
Full year.
So it's probably more like 5%.
It might be. That's the thing, I think we were still debating with the solicitor, or not sure when we would actually see a payment. Lincoln seems to get payments every couple of weeks, so it could start right away once the casino's running.
So roughly speaking, a 7 to 8% increase in spending would absorb all the casino revenue, and then 2% increase in taxes.
Well, in any scenarios that I've run or thought about, I've not even considered casino revenue.
So the 7 to 8% increase in spending would all be taxes?
At this point. Well, we don't know what fees we'll bring in. We don't know what the state aid will be, so I really, at this point, I can't say.
No, we're just talking rough at this point.
Yeah,
but-
exactly. I mean, revenue analysis was going to start, at least from my point of view, I was going to start at this point.
Okay.
Paul, the 7, 8%, that was including the 2% from school, or not?
No, that's
So-
just the municipal side.
Gotcha, so we're talking like 10%, if that,
No, actually,
No, that would
just-
lower
it actually
it.
comes down to like 3-something%, because I was assuming just the 2% for the school.
That's right.
thank you, that's what I'm
It
asking.
comes down to about a 3-something%.
Okay.
But again, these numbers are all in flux until, so I just wanted to give you rough percentages.
Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you very
I have
much.
a question.
Oh, please.
Thank you for your great idea on the senior center, that sounds wonderful. How did you come to recommending a 12% increase for legal budget? I mean, who advised you, and where did you get your information?
The
Because
solicitors.
the solicitors?
Both our solicitor and our labor attorney.
Okay, I'll go into that later then.
You can have all sorts of fun with that.
Yep.
Good. Very good, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And again, the school superintendent sent his regrets, and he was invited, but he had a personal matter he had to take care of tonight. What I want to do is look forward a little bit. And I should have brought some water, as I'm scratchy as all get out. No, that was
Did
not
you
a
catch his
request,
name?
Mrs.
Did
Black.
you catch his name?
If she didn't get up, I would.
His name?
I should
Okay.
have watched what I was doing.
Thanks. He seems nice.
Since
Is he going to be gone by a certain date?
December 31st is his
Okay.
last day.
How did that work? They just wanted him for a year? Is that how they just
Scholar
hired him for a
and
year?
lady Miss Mueller.
How did that work? Why did they do
They had a 6-month review.
Okay.
After the review, they chose not to renew his contract or to continue his contract.
Never happy.
Generally speaking, the pattern of work is that we'll meet virtually every Thursday night. And this room has already been reserved every Thursday night, starting on the 11th, but through the middle part of April or thereabouts. There may be extra meetings. Historically, we've made site visits to the different departments, typically on Saturday mornings. And those are arranged last year. I arranged them through the school superintendent, and the way I worked it at the previous town administrator's request was that I worked with the town administrator's administrative assistant, and I basically laid a schedule out, sent it to all the department heads, and then they responded, and we made whatever adjustments were necessary. And by working through the administrator's assistant, that kept the administrator aware of what was going on. So that's not anything written in stone, but that was a system that worked pretty well. Because if the department heads didn't respond in a timely manner, the administrator's assistants would get after them a little bit. So that, like I said, that there's nothing formal about that, but that worked pretty well. The next meeting we're going to have is on January 11th, which is a joint meeting. It's going to be January 11th at 7 o'clock at the high school library. And that's a joint meeting of the Budget Committee, School Committee, and Town Council, which is required by the charter. And at that meeting, each group has an opportunity to make any statement they want to. Most of the time, that's a relatively brief meeting. Last year, it was somewhat eventful because at the meeting of last year, that's when the town council fired the previous town administrator. They waited until that meeting to hand him a letter of dismissal. So that was somewhat of a different meeting. But
7 o'clock, you said?
7 o'clock, yep, high school library. Now, after the first of the year, your first task is going to be you have to elect officers. And I want to say that I am not a candidate for any office next year. So I'm taking myself out of that consideration. And one of the reasons I wanted you all to have a chance to meet each other was so that you had an idea of at least who is on the committee. And if you have any interest in volunteering or what have you, you can do so. But I will not seek any office. The way to proceed is you have a couple of choices. We can schedule another meeting, which I would not recommend because we're in the thick of the holidays and New Year, etc. What we did year before last was the committee met a half hour before the whole meeting on January 11th at the library and had the election then. Or you can wait until January 14th, or we can agree to schedule another meeting any number of ways. To ensure even-handedness, in years past, we've had the town clerk come and chair the meeting of whenever the election was going to be. That wasn't always done, but it can be done. Now, this year, since I'm not running, since I'm not seeking any sort of responsibility, I could run the meeting, or we could have Nancy do it, whatever the group wants. So that's basically the process. Now, the preliminary budgets are all due from the departments, and when I say departments, I mean town clerk, town treasurer, the municipal, and the school committee. Those 4 budgets are due to us, I think it's January 15th, or thereabouts. It's a charter required date. And you have to look and see when that charter date comes in relationship to what is a business day versus a weekend, et cetera. But it's right around the middle of January. And what we did last year is that we really didn't take any votes, with one exception, until the body submitting the budget had voted on it. And that was particularly applicable to the municipal side of the budget, because in years past, sometimes the town council would be very slow in actually approving a budget. And a couple years ago, 3 years ago, I can't remember, but in the recent past, the budget committee was in a situation where we were starting to discuss a budget before the town council even voted on the budget, which, just for the record, I want to state that I wasn't chairman when we did that, but that was rather an exercise in futility. It was unusual. Let me leave it right there. So that's something you need to decide how much effort you want to spend on preliminary budgets. I thought it worked well last year when we really didn't get down to serious nature until the final budget were due. And that is also a charter mandated date. The other thing I would throw out for you to think about is that there's a dichotomy in the way we do things. The school committee comes typically with the superintendent and the chairperson of the school committee, and they present the budget. That's it. Principals don't get involved. The business manager for the school gets involved. So there's basically 3 people presenting the school department budget. Conversely, on the municipal side, we typically meet with each department head. And I find that rather odd, actually, because the department head is here, but yet their budget has already been reviewed by the town administrator and reviewed by the town council. So by the time they appear before the budget committee, whatever budget they submitted has been, I'll use the word trimmed, because I can't ever remember a time when the town council has increased the department head request. I'm sure if we go back in history, we might be able to find one, but I can't think of it. Almost inevitably, it's shrunk. So by the time the department head is here, there's really not much they can do other than complain about the fact that either the town administrator or the town council or both has cut their budget. So that's a judgment you have to make. Now, the site visits gives each of the department heads an opportunity to make a pitch for their department. And I've always found that very useful. So if you're not familiar with the situation of DPW and so on and so forth, I strongly urge you to make those visits, because it's very informative. And it gives the department head a chance to, like I say, make their pitch. You get a chance to see the physical condition. So I think that's very useful. And I think that's all I had in terms of.
Can I just ask when you will know what the site visit dates are? Because I need to,
I have no idea. That will be up to the new president.
so we won't have, I have to, the reason I'm asking, because I have to submit the dates of our meetings by December 31st to the Secretary of State website.
I don't know how you can submit a meeting plan when nobody knows what that plan is.
Okay, so I'll just.
I guess what I would suggest, my solution would simply be to start plugging in Saturdays and not worry about it, because you can always adjust those meetings. Yeah.
Were those considered open meetings, the site visits?
Yeah, we always posted them, I believe.
We posted,
them
yeah.
as
We didn't vote,
workshops.
though. We never, we don't, yeah.
Yeah, we
never
posted them
voted.
as
We didn't have a
workshops.
quorum issue or anything like
No.
that, right?
No, we posted them, but we didn't.
No,
We didn't vote on
Either one or
anything.
you didn't.
Yeah, like I say, we posted them, if I remember right, at least the latter ones, just as a workshop. And you have no requirement for a quorum, and you can't vote on anything. And the environment really doesn't lend itself to voting on anything anyway. So a workshop is the way to go. Now, there is, I just got an email today that effective the first of the year, the open meeting laws now require that meetings be posted 48 hours in advance, not counting weekends or holidays. So if you have a Monday meeting, for example, you've got to post that meeting the prior Thursday, where in years past, the weekends counted. So that's a new one. So I would ask your thoughts about when you want to tackle the election of officers. Do you want to wait until, well, first off, I would say you could schedule a meeting for it. You could schedule a meeting on the 11th, a half hour early, as opposed to the 7 o'clock. Or you could wait until January 14th. So it's not the 14th.
Yeah, it would be the 18th.
18th, yes. My mathematical mind immediately picked up that 11 plus 7 didn't equal 14.
You're testing us.
Yes. So, or you could do something else. So whatever you think, I can, as my outgoing duty, I can, arrange that meeting. But my recommendation, for whatever it's worth, is just to have a meeting 30 minutes early on the 11th. And that way you save all the frou-frou. And Deb, do you remember, I can't remember how the joint meeting was posted. Each body has to post it as a separate meeting.
I think yeah.
Do
The
you
minutes
remember,
were on
Sally?
one, I think. We each had to post it separately, right?
Yeah, you have to post it, and then each body calls themselves to order. And there, a quorum is good, but it isn't necessary because, again, nothing is ever voted on. It's good that everybody attends so you can see what the lay of the land is, so to speak. So I saw a few people nodding their head.
I'd go for the half hour early start on the 11th.
Okay,
I would also.
is that amenable to everybody? Okay, I'll work with Deb, and I'll send them an email out to everybody, say, so we know what's going on. Anybody have any other things to add or questions?
See, so would the protocol be if there's no town administrator, that the town council would come and put forth?
Well,
Their budget?
I talked to Denise Medeiros, and their thoughts were that since Mrs. Mello has been appointed as interim town administrator, she would be the one that would be leading that. And then, as you recall, last year we had a couple council members, Denise and Trish Hilton. So I'm not sure how that will be, but I would, Mrs. Mello will be the point person, and then probably at least one other council member. But I think that still has to be worked out, because I think the council is still in a little bit of flux. They need to get an advertisement out for a new administrator, et cetera. So I can't speak for them, and I think they're still working the details out. Anything else? Okay, well, I will throw out and say that, does anybody want to volunteer to be the chairman, or don't everybody?
Well, are we going to do that at a 30-minute meeting, do the nominations and everything?
Yeah,
Okay, I just wanted,
I just thought I would throw it out there.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
if
that's
anyone's
kind of
interested.
thought process.
Yeah,
There's a party
okay.
that's already interested in
Yep, that's,
we'll still nominate, though, because,
it.
yeah.
Of course.
Okay,
Kind of gives you an idea.
yeah.
yep. So, hearing no other business, I guess we can adjourn.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right.
That looks like unanimous vote.